Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear students, welcome back to the intermediate accounting class. Dear students, our today discussion is about the general journal. Let's to explain that what is general journal and how we can prepare it, and what is the purpose of this general journal. Dear students, if you see the slides, so here you may if you see this notebook or this worksheet, so you will understand that we are having explanation about general journal. So if you see, the author explains that it is also called the book of original entries. So original entries are books in which we first record transaction. So this is a book where we will record for the first time the business transaction, and in other words we may say that here we will record transaction on daily basis. We may also explain the general journal is a book where we will record transaction on daily basis. This is the simplest definition of general journal. Now we will move towards the need of this general journal, that what is the need of this book and why we will prepare this. So let's to explain about the need of this book. So dear students, if you see in businesses we will have, like for example, invoices, we will have like for example credit notes, we will have like for example debit notes, we will have like for example the bills. So for all these things that I mentioned, and now it is called source documents. All of these are called source documents. And a source document is a document which shows, like for example, the which is an evidence for the purchase, sale, or for the transaction that we held within the business. So detail of these all documents is called source documents. As I mentioned earlier, that we will have invoices, we will have bills, we will have debit notes, we will have credit notes, we will have like for example purchase bills, we will have the sale bills, and etc. All of these are called the source documents, and the detail of these things is called source document. So these source documents within the business need to be summarized. We need to summarize these books, these source documents needs to be summarized within the business. So business needs the record of source documents of transaction to track what is going on. Through these source documents, business can understand that what is going on within the business if we record this perfectly. So to record all these things, to record all these source document perfectly, we need to have the general journal entries for it. Along with this, dear students, if we do not have a perfect or detailed record for the source documents, so what will happen? Maybe we will forget the payment of some money, or we will like for example forget the receive like for example account receivable, we will forget it, or maybe we will like for example pay all these things twice accidentally, and I mean we will have like for example some mistakes in payment of these things. So that's why it need a proper record, and that proper record is called the general journal entries. And in other words, we may say that the business records needs all these source documents of transaction to understand what is going on within the business. So these kinds of records that we will make is within the original entries or within the general journal. So for this purpose we may say that the general journal is needed. It is important that we have, like for example, the general journal entries within our business. Dear students, now we will explain about the kinds of the books of original entry. That how many types of original entries we have, how many types of journal entries do we have. So there are different types of original entries which will use to record the financial activities of enterprises, businesses, and these kinds of books we will record the transaction according to their nature, according to their, like for example, characteristic. If you see, we have round about 1 to 8 books of original entries. Let's to explain that each and every one of them in detail. The first book is the general journal or the day book. We have already defined in Pashto we can call it Roznamcha. So Roznamcha ya the Kitab-e Rozana. So this is a book in which we will record the transaction, and this is the double entry book, and here we will record transaction to effect double entry. Double entry is the debit record and the credit record. Here we will record transaction debit and we will have the credit record for all the transaction. So double entry book, it's also called the book of double entry, also called the day book. It's also called, like for example, the chronological book of recording transaction. The second book that we have is the sale journal, or we may say the sale book, sales day book. So sale journal or the sale day book is another type of the original entries or the original records. And this book here we will record only the transaction which is having relationship with the credit sale. So all those transactions that we held on credit basis, I mean the sale transaction, so we will record in the sales journal. We will record these types of transaction in to sale journal. The other type of transaction is called the other type of the books book of entries, original entry, is called the purchase journal. So what is purchase journal? It's also called the purchase day book. What is this? Here in this book we will record the transaction of the purchase transaction, but all those transactions that we have taken on credit. I mean all those purchases that we conducted through credit basis, which we can also call account payable. So in purchase journal we will record the purchases transaction, but these transactions should be on credit base. So dear students, the fourth type of the original entry books is the sales return journal, or we may say the sales return day book. As I mentioned, it's also called the day book. So we can say that here we will record all those transactions which is having relationship with the sales return. I mean all those sales return transaction we will record in the sales return journal. Sometimes, like for example, some of the customers will pay back our products. They will return our products back to us due to different reason, so we will record that in the sales return journal. At the same time, we have another type of journal or the book of original entry, which are called the purchase return journal. We may also call it the purchase return daybook. Purchase return daybook. So what type of book is it? So it is a book where we will pay back our purchases. And I mean, we have purchased some of the like for example goods, but we will return it back to the supplier. So when we will return back these products are like for example goods back to the supplier, so we will record these transaction into purchase return journal. And I mean, those who will receive it, they will record these in the purchase return journal. And the third type of the journal is the cash receipt journal. This is another type of the journal. We also record here the all kinds of cash received, and I mean those cash that we will receive, the cash related transaction we will record specifically in this journal. We also have another type of general journal, which are called the cash payment journal. So this cash payment journal, here we will record all the payments of cash that we held within the business or we will conduct during the business. So we will pay this transaction to the we will record this transaction in the cash payment journal. And the last book that we have is the cash book. So what does the cash book do and how we can use that? So here we will record the cash received, what cash we have received and what cash we have paid. So in the cash book or in the cash which is the book of original entries, so here we will record the cash payment and the cash received of a business. In the cash payment journal we only record the cash payment, and the cash received journal we only record the cash received. But in cash book we will record both cash payment and cash received of the business transaction. So dear students, I hope that you have understand the different types of the cash book, the different types of original entry books. So now we will explore about the general journal again, that what is general journal. So what the daybook is also called journal. I mentioned earlier that it is a book where we will record transaction chronologically. Yeah, it's a book where we will record transaction on daily basis. So general journal is also called the book of original entry. So this is one like for example definition of this book. Yeah, general journal. General journal is the place where business record on first time their transaction. Businesses will record their transaction for the first time, and this is the this book is commonly used to record the general business or the economic events or those transactions which is held within the business. So here we will record these things, the transaction of the business or the economic events of an enterprises. So we also have like for example a term which are called journalizing. What is journalizing? So journalizing mean the process of recording the business transaction in journal. So we can call it journalizing. So all those process where we will record the business transaction in journal is called the journalizing of transaction. Dear students, now we will explain about the the general journal format, the standard format of general journal. That what is the standard format of general journal, how we can draw the general journal. So let's to explain about the standard format of general journal. Dear students, if you see over here, we have a 5-column table. If you see, this is the standard format of general journal. We may say the standard format of general journal is having 5 columns. There are 5 columns in this standard general journal. The first column is about the date. The second column is about the description. The third column is about the ledger folio. We may also call it a reference column. And also the fourth column is called the debit record, and the fifth column is called the credit record. Dear students, as I mentioned earlier, that we have, like for example, the 5 columns in general journal. So the first column is for the date, the second column is for the description of the transaction, the third column is for the ledger folio, is also called the reference column of ledger accounts, and the fourth column is called the debit record, and the fifth column is called the credit record. So this is the standard format, and if you are preparing or when you are recording the business transaction, so you can draw general journal as we have drawn over here. Dear students, let's to explain about each and every column that we have mentioned in the table. The first column we mentioned about is about the date. So let's to explain that what for we are using the date column. Date column is used to record the date. It is used to record the date on which the transaction occur. So here in the date column, we will record transaction on daily basis, as we mentioned earlier. So in this date column, you should record transaction on the same date on which it has occurred. So we can say that it is the having relationship with the date column. The second column is about the description column. What does description column tell us? So dear students, description column explains the name of accounts. Here we will record the name of all those accounts and the concise explanation. Here we will have two things: the name of accounts, one thing, name of accounts, and second we will have, like for example, the concise explanation of the transaction. So we will have two things: name of account and concise explanation. We will enter in the description column. So description column, which is this column, this one, so it consists on two things. The description column, it consists on two things. The first one is the name of account, and the second one is the concise explanation of account. Okay, dear students, the third thing that we have in the general journal, the third column, is called about it is about the ledger folio. This column is about the ledger folio. So what does ledger folio column tells us? So dear students, it's also called the post reference. It's also called the ledger folio. Simply some of the organization will use as a folio term for it, and we can also call it the reference column. Reference column is also the another name. So this column is completed when we post the transaction into ledger account. When we are after the preparation of journal, we have one another book which are called ledger accounts or ledger book. So we will post all the transaction from journal into ledger. So when we post this transaction, at the same time we can prepare the ledger folio column. And I mean, we will take the account page number, reference number on which page we have record this account, and we will write down in front of each transaction that we record in the general journal. And the last two columns is about the debit column, and it is about the credit column. The last two column is about the debit and about the credit. So the debit column, here we will record all those amounts of money which need to be debited, and in credit column we will record all those amount of money which need to be credited. So in both of these two columns we will record the amount of money, and this amount of money sometimes is debit record and sometimes is credit record. So on the basis of these we will record the business transaction in the general journal. So dear students, I hope that you have understand about the general journal, but I will repeat about my earlier class or earlier discussion that we have, like for example the rules for debit and credit. So I hope that you know about these rules, and if you do not have information, so I will explain it again for a very quick purpose that you should know. So dear students, if like for example see all these transactions, all these accounts, here we have, like for example the asset account, here we have like for example the expenses account, here we have the liabilities account, and we have also the income account, and also the capital account. So there are 5 types of accounts in each and every business. So dear students, see, if there is an increase in asset and if there is an increase in expenses, and if there is decrease in liabilities, decrease in income, and decrease in capital, so decrease in these 3 and increase in these 2, we will record that as a debit account of the business. So we should record this as a debit account. So once again I will repeat my words. See, if we have increase in asset and increase in expenses, if there is an increase in asset and if there is an increase in expenses, so dear students, we will record this as a debit record. And if there is a decrease in liability, decrease in income, and decrease in capital, so we will record these decrease of liabilities, these decrease of income, and these decrease in capital as a debit account. This is rules for debiting the account. Now let's to explain about the credit rules, that what is the rules of accounting for crediting transaction. So dear students, we have, like for example again the 5 major accounts, the 5 major types of account, which are the asset account, the expenses account, the revenue account, the owner equity account, and the liabilities account. So dear students, for all of these accounts we have like different we may say rules of debiting and crediting. Now let's to explain about the credit rule for all these 5 accounts. So dear students, see again. So if we have a decrease in asset, if we have decrease in asset, and if we have decrease in expenses, let's to draw a line. If we have, like for example, the two things, asset and expenses, but if there is a decrease, if there is a decrease, so what we will do, we will record this as a debit record. But if there is an increase in liabilities, increase in income, and an increase in capital, if there is like for example increase in all these things, increase, so what we will do, we will record it as a credit record of the business transaction. So dear students, I hope that you have understand about the rules for debit and credit, and these rules we will use in the general journal records. So all those assets, I will write down like for example here for you to let's to explain in another words. What we will record in the debit side. So see, debit record is like for example increase in assets, one thing, increase in expenses, decrease in income, decrease in liabilities, and decrease in capital. These are the debit record. And what is the credit record? So see over here, the credit record transaction is okay, very good. Decrease in assets, decrease in expenses, increase in liabilities, increase in capital, increase in revenue, or we may say income. So these all are the credit records. So these are the rules for debit and credit. So I hope that you have understand about the general journal. So these rules we will use to record transaction in these two columns, in the debit column and credit column. So dear students, among the ورځې درس په باره د روزنامچه یا جنرال جورنال کې د دې دویم نوم چې د کتاب د اوریجنل انټری یا د اصلي ریکارډ کولو کتاب د ته هم ویل شي. په دې کې مونږه په اوله دفعه د بزنس ټول ټرانزیکشن د ورځې مطابق ریکارډ کوو. په کوم ورځ چې کوم ټرانزیکشن منځته راشي هماغسې ریکارډ کوو. د دې کتاب ضرورت د دې وجې نه پیښیږي چې مونږه په بزنس کې سورس ډاکومنټ لرو، لکه انوایس، لکه بیل، لکه کریډټ نوټ، لکه کریډټ ډیبټ نوټس او همدارنګې نور. نو دا خو ډیټیل انفارمیشن دی. د دوی د شارټ سمري د جوړولو دپاره یا د سمري ریکارډ دپاره موږ د جنرال جورنال انټریز ته ضرورت لرو. او که چېرته موږ دا سمري ریکارډ ونه لرو نو کیدای شي چې بعضې ټرانزیکشنونه موږ ډبل پی کړو یا موږ بعضې موږ نه هیر شي یا نیګلیکټ شي او زموږ په بزنس کې څه نه څه هغه ډسپیوټس ارایز شي. نو د دې وجې نه دا د دې کتاب ضرورت دی. مونږ چې د تقریبا 8 قسمه د جورنال یا د اوریجنل انټریز کتابونه لرو لکه جنرال جورنال چې دی چې په دې کې مونږ په ډبل ریکارډ د ټولو ټرانزیکشن کوو چې هغه ډیبټ او کریډټ ریکارډ دی د هر یو ټرانزیکشن. همدارنګه مونږ دویم د سیلز جورنال لرو چې په هغه کې مونږ صرف او صرف هغه ټرانزیکشن چې مونږ په قرض باندې مواد خرڅ کړي وي یا ګوډس خرڅ کړي وي یا اجناس دا غي ریکارډ کوو. او مونږ بل چې د قسم د دریم قسم چې د پرچیز جورنال لرو چې پرچیز جورنال هغه کتاب دی چې په هغه کې مونږ هغه ټول خرید چې مونږ کړی وي خو په قرض باندې هغه ریکارډ کوو. مونږ یو بل څلورم قسم د جورنال لرو چې هغه ته سیلز ریټرن جورنال ویلی شي. په دې کې مونږ هغه ټرانزیکشن ریکارډ کوو چې زموږ سیلز بیرته مونږ ته ریټرن شوی وي. مونږ د پرچیز ریټرن جورنال هم لرو چې په هغه کې مونږ هغه ټول ټرانزیکشن چې مونږ خرید کړی وي او مونږ بیرته واپس کړی وي هغه ریکارډ کیږي. همدارنګه کیش ریسیپ جورنال مونږ لرو چې په دې کې صرف د کیش چې مونږ لاس ته راوړی دی هغه ریکارډ کیږي. کیش پیمنټ جورنال لرو اووم قسم چې په دې کې مونږ هغه پیسې چې خلکو ته ورکړي دي هغه ریکارډ کیږي. خو د دې سره سره مونږ کیش بک هم لرو چې دا هم د اوریجنل انټری کتاب دی او دا کیش بک چې دی په دې کې مونږ دواړه شیان هم د کیش ریسیپټ او هم د کیش پیمنټ چې دی ریکارډ کوو. نو دا د 8 قسمه د بزنس ټرانزیکشنز بزنس اوریجنل انټری کتابونه و چې مونږ ذکر کړل. مونږ د جنرال جورنال په باره کې ډسکشن کوو. نو یو ځل بیا هم داسې ویلی شو چې د کتاب د اوریجنل انټریز ویلی شي او په دې کې د بزنس ټرانزیکشن په اول دفعه باندې ریکارډ کیږي یا ثبت کیږي. دا هغه اقتصادي ایونټس دي یا اکټیویټیز دي او یا هم هغه اقتصادي د انټرپرایز ریلیټډ ټرانزیکشن دي چې په دې کې مونږ همیشه ریکارډ کوو او د دې لپاره استفاده کیږي. دغه ریکارډ د ټرانزیکشن او د پروسې ته جورنالایزینګ هم مونږ ویلی شو. ډیر سټوډنټس د جنرال جورنال چې دی په سټینډرډ شکل باندې 15 کالم لري چې اول کالم یې د ډیټ په نوم باندې دی، دویم کالم یې د ډسکرپشن په نوم دی، دریم د لیجر فولیو، څلورم د ډیبټ ریکارډ او پنځم د کریډټ ریکارډ په نوم یادیږي چې هر یوې دلته په لاندې ډول ذکر شوی دی. ډیټ کالم د دې لپاره استفاده کیږي چې مونږ په دې کې هغه تاریخ ولیکو په کوم باندې چې زموږ ټرانزیکشن منځته راغلی دی. د ډسکرپشن کالم کې چې دی مونږ دوه شیان لیکو په دې ډسکرپشن دی منځني کالم کې، دویم کالم کې یو پکې د اکاونټ نومونه لیکو چې کوم اکاونټ مونږ سره ډیبټ کیږي او کوم کریډټ کیږي او د هغوی شارټ ایکسپلینیشن یا خلص معلومات یا وضاحت هم لیکو چې د اکاونټ باندې څه شل مونږ کوم ټرانزیکشن کړی دی نو هغه ټرانزیکشن کم یا معمولی وضاحت ورکو. دریم کالم چې دی مونږ سره د لیجر فولیو یا د ریفرنس نمبر په نوم باندې دی چې دا هغه کالم دی چې دا د لیجر اکاونټس چې کله مونږ جوړ کو نو د لیجر اکاونټس په مختلفو ورقو کې وي. دا د اډیټ پرپز لپاره استفاده کیږي. نو د دې وجې نه د لیجر هغه پیج نمبر چې په کوم کې مونږ همدغه ټرانزیکشن ریکارډ کړی دی هغه د دې مخې ته لیکو چې په دې دا ورقه کې دا ټرانزیکشن ثبت دی یا ریکارډ دی. او د څلورم او پنځم کالم چې د ډیبټ او د کریډټ کالم دی، څلورم د ډیبټ کالم دی او پنځم د کریډټ کالم دی. نو دې کې موږ هغه مقدار د پیسو لیکو یا هغه اماونټ د پیسې لیکو کوم چې دغه ټرانزیکشن موږ هلته ډسکرایب کړي دي په دویم کالم کې، یا کوم ټرانزیکشن چې موږ دلته یا کوم اکاونټ چې موږ دلته لیکلی دي د هغې اکاونټ هغه اماونټ یا مقدار د پیسو لیکو. نو دا چې دی هغه سټینډرډ فارمیټ یا سټینډرډ شکل د جرنل جورنال دی. خو که چېرته تاسو دلته وګورئ په دې جرنل جورنال کې موږ دوه اخري دوه کالم لرو چې یو د ډیبټ کالم دی او یو د کریډټ کالم دی. دغه ډیبټ او کریډټ کالم چې دی د رولز فار ډیبټ او کریډټ ته ضرورت لري. کله چې موږ ټرانزیکشن دلته ثبت کوو باید د ډیبټ او کریډټ رول په نظر کې ونیول شي. نو د ډیبټ او کریډټ رولز تاسو ته ما په مخکینی لیکچر کې واضح کړي دي. یو ځل بیا وضاحت ورکوم چې کله ایسټ او ایکسپنسز اکاونټ انکریز شي باید په ډیبټ کې ریکارډ کړو، خو که چېرته ډیکریز شي باید په کریډټ کې ریکارډ کړو. همدارنګه که چېرته لایبیلیټي انکم او کیپټل اکاونټ ډیکریز شي باید ډیبټ کې ریکارډ شي، او که چېرته په بزنس کې په همدې اکاونټ کې انکریز راشي نو باید په کریډټ کې ریکارډ شي. دا هغه رولز د ډیبټ او کریډټ دي، دلته موږ هم ذکر کړي دي. نو تاسو کولی شئ چې دا د خپل transaction یا د accounts په journal journal کې د ریکارډ کولو د purpose لپاره استفاده کړئ. So I hope that you have understand about the journal journal and the standard format of journal journal. Thank you very much.